Welcome to Tuesday Night Live, Life in Focus. Tonight the question is, or the statement is, from bicycles to airplanes. What is your life intentions? So, is it bicycles or is it airplanes? So we're going to begin tonight with our theme song. Hang on, we'll be back in just a little bit.
Lift the load from my shoulders, shake the chains from my heart. Let the crushed and silent voice within declare a new start. Song of renewal deep in my heart, sung in the daylight, sung in the dark. Troubles in this life weigh on my mind, but I live stronger, stronger to leave them behind. Living doesn't last forever. I wanna live while I'm here. Recovery's on the way. Breathe in the wonder. Today's not forever. Dream big, see clear. Life is now or never. One single life, one single love, one single voice I'm flying above. Over the doubts and fears, over the wasted years, over the mountains that get in my way. This chance won't see tomorrow. I gotta live it today. Living doesn't last forever. I wanna live while I'm here. Recovery's on the way. Breathe in the wonder. Today is not forever. Dream big, see clear. Life is now or never. Now or never.
Okay, let's go. We've been talking about journeys lately, the last few weeks, and tonight we want to continue that, let the journey continue. And we was talking about the Camino de Santiago journey over in Spain. It's there's two different paths. One of them's 200 miles and the other one's 400 miles. We was on the 200 mile one. And this photo that you have here is the ultimate goal of that trail. And it's 14 days, about 15 miles a day. Most of it's just out in the middle of nowhere. Every night you come to a little city, and this cathedral is the ultimate goal where James was buried after he was beheaded as a disciple of Christ. So, what is the goal of your journey? Where are you trying to get to in your journey in your life? So where is that going? Let's talk about, we started last week about talking about the children of Israel and their journey from being slaves in Egypt to the promised land. And we're going to continue that tonight. It will take a little while to get there and probably won't finish tonight, but stay with us. If you know anything of the story of Moses, he was born as a slave child, and Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, had put out a command to kill all the boy babies that were born because the children of Israel were becoming so numerous. The Egyptians were becoming fearful of them because they were so numerous, and they thought that they might rise up against them and defeat them and take over their land. But Moses' mother hid him for 3 months in her house. I don't know how she did it. And the soldiers of Pharaoh did not find him. And so she hid him for 3 months. She could not hide him any longer. So she made a little basket and fixed it where it was waterproof and that it would float, and put Moses in it, and had his sister take Marion, his sister, take him down and put him in the Nile River. And so she took him down and put him in the Nile River, and the the princess come out at that time and was taking a bath in the Nile River, and Moses started crying, and she had someone go see about him, and he was crying, and she saw him, and she just fell in love with him immediately, and took him as her own child. And his mother, Marion, said, "Do you want me to find a nurse for him?" And the princess said yes. And so Marion went and got his mother, and so his mother actually raised him when he was a baby and fed him, breastfed him. So that's the way it transpired. And Moses lived in the Pharaoh's house for 40 years. He was raised in the finest schools, taught with the finest schools. He was quite articulate. They said he was a great general in the army. He was a great statistician and won a lot of different battles with the army of Pharaoh. And he was well liked except by his brother. He didn't like him very well, because Moses was in line for the kingship, and the other child didn't want him to be king or Pharaoh. And so that's the way it was. And so Moses lived there for 40 years, and then he discovered that he was really a Hebrew, and he went out and saw all the Hebrews were slaves in the land of Egypt. They lived in a land called Goshen, and they were slaves in the land of Egypt. And so this is the land of Goshen. And as they were slaves in the land of Egypt, they built buildings for Pharaoh and all kind of edifices and different things for Pharaoh, and they were very mistreated. But they lived in this land of Goshen, which was a wonderful land. They went there some 400 years earlier and ended up being slaves. So Moses went out one day and saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and he killed the Egyptian. Not intentionally, I don't think, but he hit him and he killed him. And so he had to flee for his life. And he fled and went to a land called Midian. And there he met some ladies at the well that was there. These ladies herded sheep for their father. And Jethro, the father, he was a priest or a preacher, however you want, a bishop, however you want to call him, in the land of Midian. So they took Moses home with them, and he started living with them, not the women, but he started living in the house with Jethro and became a herder of sheep. And he finally married one of Jethro's daughters named Zipporah. So anyway, this journey he took is kind of a roundabout way. God was intentional in his training for Moses. Now, God is as intentional on your journey as he was on Moses' journey. And Moses understood that he had a calling on his life to deliver the children of Israel, or the Hebrews, from the land of Egypt. But he did it wrong. He killed an Egyptian, and he did it too early. It wasn't God's timing yet So things got delayed a little bit. Now, God has an intentional purpose for your life. You may not understand what that is, may not know, but Moses' personality was he was very intelligent, he was very smart, he was very rugged man, he was a very strong man because he lived to be 120 years old. So God had him that. So while Moses was a sheep herder, he wandered around in the wilderness there by Mount Sinai and what we call the wilderness of sin. It's not a sin wilderness, but that was the name of it. It was a Hebrew word and it got translated sin. So they did that. And so Moses, in 40 years of herding sheep, discovered all about the land. He knew where all the water was. He knew where all the wells was. He knew where everything in that land was, because it was God's plan to bring the children of Israel, or the Hebrews, from their slavery through that area and meet them at Mount Sinai. And he wanted Moses to understand and become a person of the land. And he wanted him to understand the land and how to access water and how to do all those things, because that was his calling to deliver the Hebrews. And he was going to have a lot of people that he had to manage and make a nation out of. God wanted them to go from being slaves to being a nation. Now, God has specific plans for your life. And he wants you to go from being, if you're a slave to anything, say drugs or alcohol or sex or work or whatever it may be in your life, God wants you to intentionally be what he designed for you. There's a story about a lady that she was 50 years old, and she told her friend, she said, I wish I had made a doctor, but I'm 50 years old. Her friend said, well, you're going to be 50 years old whether you make a doctor or not. So the lady went back to school and 8 years later became a doctor. So Moses was designed to be a leader and to train people in a nationhood, how to become a nation, how to manage themselves, and all the different things that you have to do to be a nation. You have to have laws and judges and security and all the different things you have to be a nation. And that's what Moses' job was. So what is your job? I started this out with bicycles to airplanes, and we know that the Wright brothers had a bicycle shop. They were not educated in engineering or anything like that, but they decided they wanted to fly. There was another guy that was a super engineer, had the backing of the government, had all kind of money, and he could not figure out how to get an airplane to fly, or how to make an airplane, really. But the Wright brothers figured it out. So that's the way it is. You may be in a bicycle shop right now, but I want you to know that God has for you a specific intention, whatever that may be. Would it be a doctor? Maybe God has intention for you to discover the cure to cancer. You know, there were people that discovered how to overcome smallpox. There were people, I believe his name was Salk, S-A-L-K, discovered the vaccination for polio. And polio was a horrible thing. It was prevalent when I was a child. And I never understood why my dad wouldn't let me go to a public swimming pool, because he never gave me a reason. But it was because he was afraid that I would contact polio if I went there. He would take me swimming in a lake and at the ocean, but not in a public swimming pool. So that was one of the stories of my life. I was perplexed all the time because I couldn't go to a public swimming pool. But he had his good reason. So there's an intentional purpose for your life. There was another guy that when they opened Johnson & Johnson here in Sherman, Texas, way back in, I think it was the 60s, when they opened it up and started making things, there was a farmer up in Oklahoma, I believe, and he went to work there. He was not an engineer. He didn't have a degree, but he designed several different machines there at Johnson & Johnson for their products. And he was just started out as a farmer. But God had an intention for him. He had special gifts and skills. Now, it's good to get an education, but God has given you a specific personality, specific skills to make it in life, to do what God has designed for you to do. God wants to make this world better. And we have all kind of different engineers and teachers and all that. Do you remember if you are out of school, do you remember there were certain teachers that you loved to be in their class? They had no trouble, discipline problems with hardly anybody because they made their class so interesting, and they were connected with the students, and the students were connected with them. So being a teacher, you can be a teacher, not be called, but it's better if you have the calling to be a teacher because you are able to get across the lessons that you're trying to teach the children, and they are interested in listening to you, and you have a good relationship and a rapport with those students because you are a teacher. Okay? There's other people that we need electricians, we need mechanics, we need all kind of different people in our world to make it work. Okay? And we need people that know how to love people, care for people. We need compassionate people. And we need people that will help people get out of the gutter. So the person laying in the gutter may be a super person that knows economics. God put it in him. I was listening to a guy last night that just blew me away. But I won't go into that. But anyway, and if the time of need comes, he will rise up out of that gutter that he's in and become the intentional person that God designed him to be. So if you will understand that God will invade your life at some point and make you the intentional person that he intended for you to be. He will not take you, if you're a person that loves the outdoors, he will not take you and put you and confine you in a building. He will take your design that he put in you when you were born and use it and multiply it and bless it and make it work well, that you can do the impact that God has designed for you. And he will do that. He will give you all the wisdom. If you need wisdom, we all need wisdom, but he will give you wisdom and knowledge. Now you got to get knowledge, and God said to study to show yourself approved unto God. Now, why did he say unto God? He didn't mean just studying the Bible. He meant studying for your intended purpose. What interests you? What do you like to do? What this takes away all the drudgery and everything, and when you're doing it, you just lose sight of time and you just enjoy yourself and have a wonderful time and enjoy life and invent things and do things that God designed you intentionally to do. So I want you to understand that whatever that may be that interests you, study, learn about it, read books about it. Just find everything you can read. Just God said that he that hungers and thirsteth after righteousness shall be filled. Same thing with he that hungers and thirsteth after knowledge will find it. And he'll find wisdom in the process, hopefully. You'll find wisdom how to apply that knowledge. Okay? So whatever intentionally God has designed you for on this journey of life that we all pursue and we're all in. Doesn't matter, you're going to have to go through the journey, so you might as well enjoy the journey that you're doing. Sometimes it's tough, as Moses found out. But we're going to find out next week what happened with Moses and how the children of Israel left the land of Egypt, left slavery, and began a journey to become a nation in Canaan's land, or the promised land as it's normally called. So I run out of time tonight, but thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and may God help you on your journey. May you find a journey. May you start a journey. Maybe you haven't started your journey yet. Get started. Okay, let's get going. What God has. Maybe it got delayed. Maybe you went to prison. Maybe you're on drugs. Whatever may have happened to you. Maybe your family was dysfunctional and you got kind of delayed. But Moses got delayed, but he made it anyway. He did what God wanted him to. So God will give you the years you need to do what he's designed you to do. So it's time to go. See you next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. God bless you.